So the reviews are in, and Jedi Fallen Order is honestly a very, very good Star Wars game. What could this mean for not only the Star Wars franchise, but how EA plans to handle the Star Wars franchise going forward? What lessons did they learn from Jedi Fallen Order's development?
We do it for the fans.
What's up, YouTube? Justin here from the Damn News Gaming, and if you're happy that I'm actually not doing a Pokemon video for the first time in a long time, go ahead and chop that like button, as Josh says, and don't get mad at me, because even though this isn't a Pokemon video, I'm probably going to be doing another Pokemon video. Don't murder me. So Fallen Order is a great game. Cal Kestis is a great character. It is legitimately EA's greatest success at a character-driven Star Wars title, and one of the greatest successes of a character-driven Star Wars title in a very, very long time. Some would even say that this is the greatest success since the Knights of the Old Republic era. Even Battlefront 2, with Iden Versio as a protagonist, still ended up falling flat for a lot of fans, myself included. But with every success, critical or otherwise, comes speculation. What happened in Fallen Order's development to make it such a critical success? What does this mean? What other Star Wars games can we speculate may be coming in the future based on how well Fallen Order has succeeded? And that is what we're going to talk about. So StarWars.com had an interview with Respawn Entertainment about Jedi Fallen Order back on November 15th. And while I know it may be really, really easy to write off this sort of interview, I mean, it's StarWars.com interviewing a developer about a Star Wars game. You know, there's probably some sort of spin they want to put on it, right? Well, regardless, there was actually a lot of interesting tidbits in that interview and a lot of interesting stuff that I really think is going to be the standard for Star Wars games moving forward. So I mean, EA and Respawn had a critical and commercial success on their hands at this point with Fallen Order. And one of the best ways to recreate success is to emulate everything that you did leading up to your first success. Makes sense, right? So let's talk about what in Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order's development led to that success. I gotta tell you, making me pretty happy. Respawn's Stig Asmussen told StarWars.com about Lucasfilm's heavy involvement with the title from the get-go. This promising partnership would spawn the initial seed of crafting an original tale, starring a new Force-sensitive character. It was also decided early on this authentic Jedi story, as Asmussen proudly refers to it, and it would be a single-player, third-person action-adventure game. So we have this title on our hands where not only was Lucasfilm heavily involved from the get-go, but the pitch for the style of game that the title would be was decided early, and it was set in stone, and the team never wavered from that. Part of the reason this is so important is because this is in stark contrast to other EA titles, which I'm gonna mention Anthem because Anthem is the easiest thing to mention in this situation. Because Anthem was a game where they didn't really settle on what kind of style of game it was going to be until very, very late in development. Now, I know that there are games out there where you can sort of go one direction and the development team has done complete 180s later on in the game's life cycle, and the game ended up turning out a lot better for it. Final Fantasy XIV probably being the most shining example of that. But things like that happening, those aren't the norm. In some cases, those are actually more miracles. That's not really what you want. That's not really the steady bottom line you want for your game. If you want your development to go smoothly, if you want your mechanics to be refined to the point where players actually enjoy playing your game. So you need that rock solid, steady foundation for your game to succeed. And that's not just me talking from a philosophical standpoint. That's the numbers. The numbers show that is more often than not leads to a successful title. But talking about the depths of design philosophy, that went a lot deeper with Jedi Fallen Order. And the team did speak about how they tried to weave gameplay into the narrative as well. The pitch was that it was about becoming a Jedi. You don't begin as this powerful Jedi who knows all the tricks of the trade. You start as Cal, who was a Padawan back when the Order was still around. He experienced Order 66 as a Padawan, and now he's trying to relearn some of the things he knew in the past, as well as some new abilities. Building on Faust's statement, narrative lead Aaron Contreras enthusiastically adds, "Our goal is to make players feel like they're becoming a Jedi like never before." While a significant part of achieving that ambitious goal fell on the carefully crafted story, organically weaving the player's actions and interactions into Cal's evolving, narratively rich journey was equally important. It's about Cal growing as a person, so we tried to model that in the game through puzzles, combat, and environmental challenges. We try to create a synergy between what Cal is doing and the pressures he's being put through in his quest. This then sparks moments of growth with his relationship with the Force as well, continues Contreras. You're not a Jedi, so you don't know everything. We want players to feel that one-to-one experience. So when you start early in the game, things need to be grounded. It's more about channeling the lightsaber fantasy through becoming a Jedi. Now, people who've been playing games for a while have gone through the journey to become a Jedi previously. This isn't really something new for them. This is something that was established back in the Knights of the Old Republic games. But that was a different beast of a game. That was an RPG. So it was more about how your stats grew, how your abilities ended up working in combat, sort of just how powerful you felt doing these predetermined actions, how much damage you dealt, how big your numbers got. With Jedi Fallen Order, it seems like the team really tried to do something different. I hate to invoke what everyone else has invoked when talking about this game, but I have to invoke Dark Souls here, because just like I've personally experienced with Dark Souls, it seems like the way the team has constructed this game is by delivering players an ever-evolving smorgasbord of challenges, of monsters to fight, of things to do, to the point where not only is Cal himself growing in terms of the narrative, but based on the challenges you continue to surmount, you yourself are growing as a Jedi as the narrative unfolds before you, as the game and the gameplay unfolds and evolves. Just like with a Souls title, players can return to areas of the game that previously gave them trouble and end up trouncing on the enemies that were there. Now, this isn't just because you have some really inflated stats, some new weapons, some more powerful abilities at your disposal, though that is part of it, but what really ends up selling that feeling of progression, what ends up selling that belief that the player has that they themselves are getting stronger and getting better at the game as they progress, is being able to recognize that, being able to go to these previous areas and be like, hey, this enemy that used to give me trouble, I just completely trounced that. I actually feel like I'm getting better at the game. I actually feel like I'm growing. And when you have a protagonist who is growing themselves, it's really easy to sort of make that connection between player and character in a way that few games are rarely able to accomplish. And I think that's really a huge part of Jedi Fallen Order's success. But now, where do we go from here? What could the future of Star Wars games hold for us? Well, for starters, I know a sequel to Fallen Order has to be in the works. The game has done way too well. I think that's pretty much a guarantee. So if you're someone who has enjoyed the Fallen Order experience, there's definitely going to be more Fallen Order for you down the line. Now, I know a lot of people, both those of us here at the Den and those of us who frequent the Den, love The Mandalorian to pieces, and Respawn has a significant track record when it comes to shooters. So would a Mandalorian game maybe be out of the question? Honestly, I wouldn't think so. Some sort of bounty hunter game, that type of gunplay really fits well into what Respawn has shown they are capable of doing in the past with titles like Titanfall. Going further into cult Star Wars game territory, I know there are a ton of fans out there who have been clamoring for a new Republic Commando game. And if there's someone I think could really handle Republic Commando in this day and age, who has the skill set behind them to do it, I legitimately do believe that that is Respawn. I think Respawn, if just left to their own devices, could make a wondrous Republic Commando remake or reboot or sequel if Disney decide they want to canonize it. And going even further, I know BioWare, old BioWare, had a crack at Star Wars back in the day with Knights of the Old Republic. It was a massive, massive success. They've still got the MMO going, but I legitimately believe that BioWare is able to get themselves together after the horrible RPG failure that was Mass Effect Andromeda. BioWare could maybe even craft us another Star Wars RPG people could enjoy. I know Knights of the Old Republic 3 was something people wanted. It turned into an MMO. Maybe we can get a proper Knights of the Old Republic 3 down the line if that attention to detail is paid, like it was with Fallen Order. Now, what's important here isn't exactly what cut and dry comes from this entire setup, comes from Fallen Order's success. What's really, really important here is that EA has in front of them, on paper, from both critics and fans, that what happened in this game's development, this attention to detail, this set path that was set early and then followed, all of this worked. All of this created a game that people seem to universally love. EA knows, they know without a shadow of a doubt, the numbers are in front of them and numbers do not lie. They know that single player games are not dead. Single player games never were dead. It was just a lie these big companies told themselves so they could try and jump on and sell this live service bandwagon. And with the knowledge firmly in hands that not only single player games are not dead, but single player games will make money. Gang, this means that we could be getting more awesome single player Star Wars games and more awesome single player games down the line from these big developers. I know Josh and I have talked a lot in the past about how the industry is ready for a restructuring, but that might not necessarily mean that these big companies have to fall in and crumple and die. Maybe it just means that these companies will actually see on paper that what they've been doing isn't the way to go, and they might actually change things. Though, I guess that's just me being optimistic. But I do want to know what everyone watching this video thinks down in the comments. I want to know, did you enjoy Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, if you played it? Are there any other Star Wars games you'd like to see? Did anything I mentioned sort of tickle your fancy, or is there some other kind of Star Wars game you would like to see come down the pipeline in the future? Go ahead and let us know any and all of your thoughts down in the comments. Maybe you'll mention some sort of cool Star Wars game I didn't think of. Maybe someone in the comments will mention Rogue Squadron or Episode 1 Racer. Forgot to mention those, and I'd like to see those. I hope you're all having an awesome and nerdy day, and I'll see you all in our next video.